Dennis Bernstein will be here, as he is most Thursdays. Talk about hockey, Stanley Cup playoffs. Huge shock what's going on right now with the Flyers leading the Penguins 3-0 in that series. Whole bunch of series at 1-1. We'll talk hockey with our friend Dennis Bernstein of thefourthperiod.com and SiriusXM NHL Radio a little later on in the show. Get his thoughts on all those series. Sam Yarnell will be here to talk about what we're going to discuss in a moment in the big story. Also, some NBA to get to, some baseball in odds and ends, and the WNBA announcing its broadcast coverage for the season. And if you like Caitlin Clark, you're going to get a lot of Caitlin Clark. And if you don't like Caitlin Clark, I've got news for you. Same thing, you're going to get a lot of Caitlin Clark. But we start things out as we always do on this Thursday edition of the show. It's time for the big story. And the big story today deserves a colossal sponsor, and that is our friends at Colossus Fantasy. Pick'em games, peer-to-peer games, a whole bunch more. Go and download the app. Click the QR code right there, scan it, go get yourself the app. And when you make your first deposit, $10 deposit gets you a $40 bonus when you use my promo code SPORTSWRAP upon signing up. Again, my promo code SPORTSWRAP. $10 deposit gets you a $40 bonus. A $20 deposit gets you an $80 bonus. You put in $20, you'll have $100 to play with. What's better than that? Scan that QR code, go and download the app, use my promo code SPORTSWRAP, and go and do that today. All right, NFL Draft is tonight. And you may notice, we had Bill Bender on Tuesday. Aside from that, I have not spent a ton of time talking about the draft outside of the big stories of, Fernando Mendoza works out, things like that. And here's the reason. Because I'm going to clue you in on something a little bit here. Are there people that know a lot about these college, these collegiate football players coming to the NFL? Of course there are. Are there a lot of people that know a lot about the NFL? People that probably know more than me when it comes to the NFL. Are there a lot of those people out there? Sure there are. Here's the one thing, though, that no matter all you think you know about college football and all you think you know about the NFL, here's the one thing that you never know for certain. Is a guy going to make that transition, and does it pan out well? And we can go chapter and verse for years over guys that have been hyped up, that have fallen on their face. And we can go chapter and verse on the guys who are not highly touted that wind up shining. Go look at Tyler Shuck in New Orleans with the Saints. He's basically, they thought last year, a placeholder so the team could suck enough and then wind up potentially going and getting the guy that's now going number one in the draft. Or who knows, a year ago, people thought it might have been Arch Manning that was number one in the draft, because it's an inexact science. And that's why I'm not wasting tons and tons of time on this show going crazy trying to analyze who's going to do what, because the fact of the matter is, outside of a handful of guys that are truly can't-miss prospects, there's going to be a bunch of swing and misses, and there's going to be a bunch of guys that have been unheralded, that have not been all over your radar from the college football season, that wind up shining and wind up being great. Guys from the Ivy League you've never heard of. Division II players you've never heard of. Guys that are undrafted. That'll get phone calls on Sundays. Saying, hey, come sign with our team as an undrafted free agent, come into camp. And then we wind up watching them in training camp and in preseason games, and they're awesome and they have great career. It happens all the time. So why am I going to go crazy? Look, I'm on the record as saying, I don't think Mendoza is going to be as good as everybody else thinks he's going to be. I was watching one of our affiliates that were on Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network here in Las Vegas last night, where you can watch us most nights at 5 p.m., some nights at midnight. Yeah, I was watching one of the guys on there who I like. I've been on his show before. I'm not going to call him out by name. I was watching him last night. He's just gushing. They're talking about getting a tattoo of Fernando Mendoza, and everybody's talking about this. This is the seminal moment in the history of the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Fernando Mendoza. They've never had somebody this good coming in number one, blah, 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 blah. You have no idea. You have no idea. Nobody knows It all sounds good. Oh, he worked out for 45 minutes. He studied and worked out and practiced for 45 minutes before a 30-minute. I don't care. You've got a first-time head coach with a first-year quarterback. I like the Kirk Cousins signing. I think Kirk Cousins, being able to mentor Fernando Mendoza is a nice thing. But make no mistake about it. You just don't know. Look at Bryce Young, the first year plus in Carolina. And we were all ready to bury the guy. The obituary on his career was practically written. Now, by the end of last season, Carolina's a playoff team, and everybody's talking about Bryce Young potentially being the it guy for the Panthers when he was dead and buried after 1 year. So I'm not saying go crazy based on whatever happens in year one with Fernando Mendoza or any of these guys. But there's very few can't miss guys. And I don't know that Mendoza's that just because he won the Heisman. This is a weak quarterback class, folks. It's next year's quarterback class that you would have liked to have had the number one pick if you were the Raiders. Then you had a lot of guys. This quarterback class sucks, at least on paper. That's what we're being told. Now, who knows? Maybe a bunch of guys come out of it and wind up being really good. But it's always fun to watch, particularly locally, to see how people are all excited, because you got to be excited. It's your team in your local market. I broadcast from Las Vegas, but I don't have to do that. I'm just telling you what I think. I don't think Mendoza's going to be a total bust. I just don't think he's going to be as great as others think he's going to be. Just my opinion. I'll be here if I'm wrong. We're coming back. Welcome back to the show. I've had my say in the big story. Let's talk some more. Get into this Mike Vrabel story that broke later in the day on Wednesday. Say hello to Sam Yarnell for the first time today. All right, Sam. So Mike Vrabel has a press conference where he says absolutely nothing 2 days ago. Now, on the surface, he says nothing. He doesn't take any questions. But in essence, what he said was, yeah, something happened with me and Dianna Russini. I'm just not telling you what exactly happened between me and Dianna Russini. But clearly something happened because he felt the need to make a statement talking about the difficult conversations he had to have as a result of the pictures that show him with Dianna Russini, who's a friend of the program, by the way. We love Dianna. Then the story comes out last night, and I was chuckling. I was out at a late night dinner. I just picked up Chung at the airport. We were having some sushi, which is not agreeing with me this morning. And look, it is what it is. It's been a rough morning in the Page estate. So this story comes across my phone. Oh, Mike Vrabel. He's going to take day 3 of the draft off to go to counseling. And I'm just sitting there going, boy, man, can you make it any more transparent in terms of trying to make it look like you're trying to atone for whatever it is you did that you don't want to tell us you did, but at the same time, you're missing day 3 of the draft? I think some of this is for appearances, as I said in the big story. And, look, if you want to know if somebody had an affair without admitting they had an affair, Mike Vrabel's doing everything in his power to tell you what happened here.
I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I believe the Patriots have 5 picks on Saturday. 5 of their something like, I want to say 8 or 9 picks that they have in this draft actually come on day 3 of the draft. So, folks, if you didn't think before that the Patriots ownership was going to start to phase Mike Vrabel out and he would eventually be out of a job, this is the first step on that long walk, right? Because of the timing, we've seen this happen before in the NFL, right? There's a and I don't even know what to say, an extenuating circumstance that happens with a front office member or a head coach in an offseason within very close proximity to the draft. So the organization will retain them through the draft just to make sure they're not letting the organization's entire draft plan and, all of their rankings out to all 31 other teams. And then, we'll get to early May, we'll get to June once things start ramping up, and that replacement will try to be quiet. That is at least the sense that I get, because Jason, when we're talking, and this is the thing that you and I disagreed about in the commercial break, but this is the thing that everybody who's thinking about this and talking about this seems to forget. There are two elements to this whole thing with Mike Vrabel. One, yes, he's an unfaithful man. He cheated on his wife. Yeah, that's not good. And you're right. That happens in the NFL, and that happens with coaches. And you don't get fired as long as you win football games. That is all well and good. I agree with you on that. If Mike Vrabel had just cheated on his wife, he would still have a shot to be the coach of the New England Patriots. The reason I think that he'll get phased out as the coach of the New England Patriots, and the reason I don't think he'll have a shot to be another head coach in the National Football League, is because of who he cheated on his wife with. And when you think about billionaires in the United States of America, the people who own National Football League teams, who is the one group of people they hate more than anyone? They hate more than either political affiliation, they hate more than any specific group of people. It is the media. It is the media, Jason Page. And when we're talking about Robert Kraft in specifically, he hates the media more than, I would argue, any other NFL owner. Just look at the coach who he employed for the last 25 years before Gerard Mayo. I mean, this, to me, is the cardinal sin for Mike Vrabel. If you're going to be unfaithful, that's not the owner's problem. If you're going to start spilling secrets to the media, as we've now seen, it was pretty obvious that Mike Vrabel was, for, other off-duty pleasures, that's when you really piss the billionaires off. And that's why I don't think Mike Vrabel has a shot at getting another job in the NFL.
I don't know what happens after this. I don't think the after this is as soon as you think it is. And here's why. First of all, it would be comical. I think it would be the height of comical if Robert Kraft, and my argument, if something were to happen here, my argument for Robert Kraft might be a little different than yours, but we'll cast that aside for today. My thing on all of this is, if he wins football games, as I said to you during the break, I don't think it's going to be as big a deal. Because here's the thing. Everybody leaks. Bob Kraft may not like the media. If you don't think there's something that Bob Kraft has never leaked to the media, that he doesn't have his friends in the media, at some point in time his time in Boston, Robert Kraft has leaked something to people in the media. So I don't necessarily, and remember, Dianna Russini's had a presence in that market for a long time. Going back to her days working in Connecticut, she's been somebody that's known in that marketplace for a long time. That's one. Two, we don't know what's been said behind closed doors already between Kraft and Vrabel. And I think that's the big X factor in all of this, is what is obviously the explanation for Robert Kraft has passed muster. Whatever Mike Vrabel has said to him to this point has passed muster for him, because if he were going to let him go, and I know your argument is fair that they wouldn't want to do it before the draft, I don't think that's necessarily going to happen. And while you say they have 5 picks on Saturday, let me just throw this in.
Yeah, by the way, it's 8. 8 of their 11 picks come on Saturday.
Okay.
They have an entire draft, more than an entire draft's worth of picks that their head football coach is not going to be there for.
He may not be there for. Doesn't mean he may not still be in contact with the team. I'm just saying.
That's tricky, because then if the NFL finds out that there are people not in the building talking to people in the draft room, that is going to be very hairy, very, very hairy. And I'll just say this. In the last 5 years, which is the very end of the Bill Belichick era and the Gerard Mayo era, we've seen staffers in New England fired over leaks that they allegedly had to the media. I do not think that Robert Kraft is at all friendly with any media member, and I think that it shows by him doing way less press than any other owner in the NFL.
I don't believe they're going to fire a guy that just went to the Super Bowl. I just don't see it. I don't see it. And who are you replacing him on this short of notice with? You give me a name? Got one?
Promote from within. They did it all of last season for their defensive coordinator, and they got to the Super Bowl with it.
Yeah, they used a guy named Mayo who was part of that organization. It didn't work out too well either. We're coming back. More to do. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the show. Let's get into some of the hockey. Stanley Cup playoffs in full swing. And our friend Dennis Bernstein is here in the Sports Wrap Spotlight today from thefourthperiod.com, SiriusXM NHL Radio. To bounce around some of these series, tell us what we're seeing. Look, one of the most compelling series in terms of, just sort of the glitz around it because of the in-state rivalry part of it was this Philadelphia Pittsburgh series. And it hasn't really turned out to be much of a series with the Flyers sort of owning it here over the first few games. I know you said, if I recall correctly, you said whoever comes out of the series is losing in the next round anyway. But still pretty shocking to see the Flyers do what they've done here over the first few games.
They've shut them down. They're the faster team. They're the younger team. They're the more connected team. They look like they're playing connected. And remember, coming into I think the Penguins lost the last couple of games in the regular season. So they've lost, I think, maybe 6 in a row. But Philly came in hot. They rode the wave of that great crowd in Philly last night. And I like Philly in the series to start. Did I think they'd be up 3-0 on the verge of a sweep? No. But you know what? When the game boiled down, they executed, and they've made Pittsburgh chase the game. They've led almost the entire series, and that's something for an older, slower team that's really difficult to do. I think that's why you see the Flyers up 3-0, Jason.
Well, if it ends, and as it appears it's going to here for Pittsburgh, how does it sort of alter the viewpoint of this season? Yes, they make the playoffs, but then getting swept by Philadelphia in terms of what that offseason looks like.
Well, I think they found a coach in Dan Neeson, somebody that nobody really knew coming in. Right? They were a 100-point team. Did they overachieve? Yeah. Are they playing with house money? Yeah. But now this is one of the oldest rosters in the league. So the question is, and they have a bunch of free agents that they took gambles on 1-year contracts. So do I think they'll regress? I don't think they'd be a 100-point team next season. The question is how much regression, and will the old guys be able, like Crosby and Malkin and Letang and Carlson, will they be able to deliver another season like this one? So I think overall it's a positive season. The question is, what can they do behind this? Because they have such an older team, I'm not sure they can build off this. This might be their ceiling.
Boston and Buffalo, you thought there was the potential for an upset in this series. It goes back to Boston, tied at 1 game apiece. What have you seen over the first 2 games that either encourages what you thought might happen before the series started versus what you think may happen the rest of the way?
But Boston defends better in game 1. The end of the game, they're probably up 2-0. Nothing surprising me. That's a tough team. That's a tough team, Boston. I picked them in 6. All the pressure's on the Sabres now. They lost that magical home ice advantage in game 2. They got to get a split in Boston. It's a tough team. A team that's beaten them, 4 out of 6 times this year? So they've been the better team when they've played. And you saw it in the game because that should have been game 2 should have been the one the Sabres took control, commanded. And it just shows you, just because you had a great season and it's a great story and you haven't made the playoffs in 15 years, nobody's gifting you a series, Jason. They got to go out and win these games. And I really like the way the Bruins are playing. I think they're still alive. As much as I love Philly in that series, I actually like the Bruins better. I thought because of their experience, and they have more experience, they could get the series. And if they replicate the game 2 play, they could be up 2-1 after tonight.
Should be. I agree with you. They should be up 2-0 in this series going back to Boston. Instead, it is tied at 1 game apiece. Montreal and Tampa Bay, Lightning snap a 4-game home playoff losing streak. That series tied at 1 game apiece after the Lightning win a couple of days ago, 3-2. Hello to our friends, by the way, watching on Game Plus in Canada. Your thoughts on what you've seen over the first 2 games between Montreal and Tampa Bay?
I think it's a question of, Montreal's a younger team. I think they're the youngest team in the playoffs. Can their speed and energy keep stressing Tampa, or will eventually the experience of the Tampa Bay Lightning take over late in series and they'll find a way to win? This looks like a 7-game series. This looks like a high-scoring series. So I'm not surprised at what I saw from that. And remember, Victor Hedman's not going to play in the series, Jason. When you get to a Game 7, that might affect the outcome.
Colorado You know, I mean, doing what you would expect them to do against this Kings team that was able to kind of scrape by and get into the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, look, the games, they've played close games. But it's funny, they played 2-2-1 games in the series, but Colorado was not threatening game one. Game two, they were. The Kings went up with a power play goal. They were leading with less than 7 minutes to go. They got 5 power plays. They got a penalty shot. Couldn't find a way to win the game. When the game gets tight and the team that executes best wins, you see the experience of Colorado coming through. That's why they're up 2-0. This is basically Kings Game 7 here in Los Angeles tonight. If they don't win tonight, the series, a lot of people think the series is over anyway because you're not going to beat Colorado 4-5. But if they're not the more desperate team tonight, they will lose and they'll get swept in Game 4 on Sunday. So this is the whole season riding for the Kings tonight against the Avalanche.
Yeah, and I agree with you on the desperation front. I expect them to play like a desperate team tonight in that Game 3, which really is almost like a Game 7 for them. Give me a thought on this Dallas double overtime win last night. I was watching it sitting here in the studio. Dallas wins 4-3. Take a 2-1 series lead with that win in St. Paul last night. Thoughts on what you've seen here over the first few games of that series and just a wild finish with Wyatt Johnston getting the double overtime winner.
Yeah, power play goal. I think coming into the series, most people said this was the tightest series of the 8 playoff first round Stanley Cup playoff rounds, and nothing's proving it otherwise. You looked at game 1, you're saying, oh, wait a minute, Minnesota, they're ready, 6-1 in Dallas. Dallas turned it around on them because Jake Ottinger got better in games 2 and 3. So it's simple as that. This smells, again, like a 7-game series. Like more so, I think, than Tampa, Montreal. There's not much separating these teams. Minnesota has to stay out of penalty box. You can't get in trouble against Dallas. It cost them the game last night. But again, I think they can bounce back at Game 4. Are they going to stick with Wallstedt net? I'm not really sure. But I think this is a 7-game series. It could go back to Dallas once we get to Game 7. That would be a compelling first-round matchup because that's what people thought these teams were. There's not much separating them.
A brutal penalty. I mean, on a delay of game penalty. You're just trying to clear the puck out of the zone, and you flip it into the stands, and you can see the look on his face when he's coming out of the penalty box.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, well, kill the penalty. The other option is kill the penalty, I always say. You had a chance to kill the penalty, you didn't get it done, and now you're down 2-1.
It was really funny. I was listening to Henrik Lundqvist in the post game, or in between the overtime periods, talking about how heavy the goalie equipment gets. You know, when you're that deep into a game, how wet the pads get. And it was fascinating to listen to. I love listening to him, by the way. I think he's transitioned really well into this career. And just listening to him talk about the weight of the pad, it's something you'd never think about.
Yeah, and this is just the 3rd game in the play. These goalies have to do this for the championship goalie's going to probably play in 20, 25 games. It's a grueling sport, these guys. And this is after an 82-game grueling regular season. These guys, so I love this sport. These guys are warriors.
Yeah, they certainly are. More with Dennis Bernstein on the other side. Some other series to get to. Anaheim and Edmonton also tied at 1 game apiece. It feels like every series is super competitive. We're coming back and talking about it more with Dennis on the other side. All right, coming up in 10 minutes. Some NBA to get to. How serious is the Victor Wembanyama concussion? Magic and Pistons now tied at 1 game apiece. All of a sudden, all these NBA series after 1 game looked like they were going to be blowouts. Everybody overreacted, and now we got a bunch of competitive series there as well. Thunder and the Suns are not one of them. Let's bring in our friend Dennis Bernstein, who's hanging out with us in the Sports Wrap Spotlight today. Speaking of competitive series, Edmonton cause for concern after the 6-4 loss in Game 2 of that series, tied at 1 game apiece.
The concern is if and how much Connor McDavid's injured. Like he took hits on both
Doesn't sound like it's that
last
bad,
night.
though. I mean, he still played, 24, 25 minutes.
Yeah, he wasn't the explosive. There's a couple of moves there where he usually would explode on defenders, and he didn't do it. And he didn't score. I'm not surprised at the scoreline. Look, if you're a bettor, bet every game over the goal total. Every game's going to be 6-4, 5-4, 7-6. There might be, I was on some other show, I forgot what it was, and said, so what's the likelihood of which series would have a 10-goal game? I'm like, this series. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be fun. Anaheim has a lot of firepower up front, and they don't play any defense. So this is as close to an NBA series, I think, as you'll get in the NHL. Not surprised. Just keep a watch on Connor McDavid's health and see how he responds in Game 3. I do like Edmonton winning the series, but Anaheim's shown that they're not going to take a step back. This is a team of the future.
It's funny though. You talk about no all gas, no brakes. Basically, they don't play any defense. Can you think of a team that has gone deep or even won a Stanley Cup playing that style?
No. Well, Edmonton almost did 2 years in a row, but they ran into the Florida Panthers. Florida had a better goaltender. No, it's so difficult because you can't you make too many mistakes, and you can't outscore your mistakes every game. Like you won't hit the back of the net. You'll have some puck luck. You can't win games consistently 6-4 and think you're going to win a Stanley Cup. You might get around depending on the matchup. The Ducks played this way and they played a better. If it was the Ducks in Colorado played this way, there's no way they get exposed, right? But that's it. The mindset for the Avalanche is different than the Oilers. Oilers don't care they don't care. They'll beat you 6-4. But is it going to win them a championship? No. So I think that's what you stand with respect to the Ducks there. They'll be competitive, but they have to find a way to play better defense. The defense is older. They have a lot of older guys on the right side, but this is a team that's getting valuable experience because a lot of these guys, you see all these guys scoring their first goals last night because they've never been in a playoff game before. It's been 7 years since the Ducks made the playoffs. So it's a valuable experience. I do think Edmonton finds a way to win this series unless Connor's hurt more than we think he is.
You mentioned the Kings being in a must-win tonight. Ottawa in a very similar situation at home after dropping the first two in North Carolina against these Carolina Hurricanes. Is there anything that you've seen in the first two games that gives you reason to believe Ottawa can at least get Game 3 and get back into this series?
Yeah, I think the way Linus Ullmark's playing, if he can steal a game at home, which we should be able to, I don't think this is a sweep. I think it's a 5-game series. I think the Senators will get one game at home. It's probably going to be this one because if you lose Game 3, Jason, you're down 0-3, your mindset coming into Game 4, you're probably already thinking about where you're going to be vacationing in May. So I think this is the game you point to. But yeah, I think the way they played, and they've been competitive. They get a bounce, and look at the crazy way that game ended in Game 2. Like there was a game offside call, a goal called back or an offside. There was a penalty shot that was missed. It's crazy. So they've been in games like the Kings. The Senators have been good, but they haven't been good enough. They've been close, but not close enough. And they need to do that tonight if they want to make this any type of a series.
What does Ottawa need to get to that next level? It's nice to see them back in the playoffs and what they're trying to build there in Ottawa. But what does that team need to sort of get to the next level? When you again, we were talking about it with Pittsburgh. What happens if they go out early in this postseason and get blown out? How important is it for Ottawa to get a game and try to figure out what they need here for the offseason?
It is. It's important because it's still a young team. So you asked me what they need. They need maturity. Right? They made the playoffs last year, went out in 5.
Yeah,
so
I remember.
You would hope that they would make it a deeper run against this team, although it's a better team, the Hurricanes. More experience and probably more scoring on the wing. Like, you go this team with those offense. They think they're pretty set. They got a pretty good blue line. And if Allmark's going to play this way, you're set in net. I think the challenge with the Senators going forward is to get more offense. And if they could do that in the offseason, then they can build off this and maybe win a round or two. But this is a tough ask because you saw it. It wasn't so much in Game 2, but Game 1, Carolina just smothers you. Right. And I think that's what they'll try to do again tonight. This is a very, very good team. But the Senators are a team on the rise. Back-to-back playoffs for them is a good accomplishment.
Before I let you go, one thought on this whole situation in Seattle, and we talked about it a little bit when we had you on in the last week or two. Fire the head coach last year. Now they get rid of the GM. You've got the Kraken CEO Todd Lewicki giving they're doing this audit of the team. What's going on in Seattle right now, Dennis?
I think they got over their skis because the second year they made the playoffs and they thought it was going to go like Vegas. And there's only one Vegas where you can win a cup in 6 years. And, don't want to disparage to say, but, Tammy Panarin is offered $14 million a year for 4 years to go play for Seattle. And he didn't want to play in Seattle. I don't think it's a destination. So I think it's a situation where they need a lot more offense. So Botterill, who now is the GM, they're pretty good defensively. They've got 2 good goaltenders. They can't seem to score. That's why they wanted to trade for Panarin. Right. So I think that's the challenge.
What do you think in that Utah-Vegas series through the first 2 games with them going back to Salt Lake City?
Well, I liked Utah to win the series before they
you
went
did.
On, before Vegas went on that 7-0-1 to end the season. And okay, so they're waking up to what Tortorella's selling them. Long series. I like Vegas in 6. But the pivotal game is this game. If Utah wins game 3, they got a legit shot to do it because they're a good team. And I like them anyway coming in the bracket because they crossed over to the Pacific.
Yeah, it's going to be – I can't wait to see the atmosphere in Utah for that first playoff game. Dennis Bernstein, thefourthperiod.com, SiriusXM NHL Radio. Thank you, my friend. Be well.
Likewise, Jales. Present.
All right. Thanks to Dennis Bernstein for hanging out with us, thefourthperiod.com and SiriusXM NHL Radio. Sam Yarnell returns. Odds and ends in 10 minutes. Boy, if there was animosity towards Caitlin Clark before, you just wait until this season. Caitlin Clark getting the Nickelback treatment. Sam Yarnell. I mean, really, every single Indiana Fever game will be on TV this year. Every single one of them will be on TV. Then again, it feels like every WNBA game is going to be on with the number of national broadcasts they have lined up for this year. So, Sam Yarnell, let's talk about the NBA playoffs. I tell you, we've got a whole bunch of 1-1s and, you know, a little bit of doubt creeping in some of these series. And, you know, you just never know what's going to happen when it comes to injuries and things like that. I mean, look, a couple of years ago, we were talking about the Warriors going on a run, and then Steph Curry, you know, I think it was his hamstring he pulled, and they wind up getting blitzed by the T-Wolves, and now look at the Warriors organization. They're about to get rid of the head coach, or the head coach is about to get rid of them. So let's talk some NBA. First of all, Thunder roll. Not a huge shock there to me. We all knew that was probably one of the series that wasn't going to be particularly competitive. But Jalen Williams, hamstring, little high hamstring injury, it looked like, in that game. So certainly something they're going to have to look out for. I still think they can win that series without him. I
could just sit him and still win in 4.
Well, maybe. I mean, you'd like to win it in 4, but I think for that reason and the fact that he has been injury prone this year. Well, and that is really one of the stories of the NBA. We're doing a special next week on the top 5 stories of the NBA season, and that really feels like it needs to be one of the stories this year. Is sort of, you know, injuries, and we'll do it next week because we're off next week. So that's one of our sports wrap specials, is the top 5 stories of the NBA season. But boy, Jalen Williams going down with a hamstring injury now. Still, we'll cast the Thunder aside. We think they get through that series. They'll get Williams back for whatever is next for them. Put that aside for the moment. Topic number 2 that I want to get into from the NBA is the Wemby update. And, you know, where that team is right now. Because late last night, Shams Charania was on Inside the NBA, Sam. And he said that there's a good chance, you know, not a good chance. Wemby's going to travel with the team to Portland. Now, I don't know if he plays in Game 3. I think they can win the series without him, regardless of what we saw in Game 2. I think they can win that series without him. So I think you rest him for Game 3. That's my opinion. They had a good record without him this season. But there is a chance he plays in Game 3, Sam, despite the fact that he's in concussion protocol right now.
I would be... Color me purple if this guy plays in freaking Game 3. Here's the thing, and I'm on a tangent a little bit here. I love Shams Charania. He has had a great career, right? Like one of the youngest to ever do it, one of the greats to ever do it. This season specifically, talking about the 5 biggest stories of this season, and maybe I will throw this in our special that we do next week if we have enough time. One of the biggest stories for me is like every time there's a story in the NBA, you can tell that Shams Charania now just serves as a mouthpiece. Like every time time he reports on something, you can tell exactly where he got it from and exactly who told him what to tweet. And this is obviously something coming from a Spurs staffer or someone in Wemby's camp, as we like to say in the NBA these days, which is a ridiculous term for just saying one of his multiple agents. So yeah, that's definitely who he heard it from. I would be shocked beyond belief if Wemby played in this game. You got to go by Las Vegas on these kinds of things in the NBA, and San Antonio's a 1.5 point favorite. That screams at you that Wemby is not playing in this game.
Boy, I'd still take him. I'd still take him.
Too.
I would take him minus 1.5.
I would too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I'm glad you told me that. I run to your nearest legal bookmaking institution and lay the 1.5, even without him. I think they come out. Stephon Castle was terrible in game two. Terrible in game two. I'd expect him to rebound in a big way in that game. So we'll see what happens with Wemby. That's the latest on it there. Obviously, that story will develop by the time you watch this show. There could be more information on that. Pistons rebound in game two. Take care of the Magic last night. That series tied at 1 going back to Orlando, Sam. I still think the Pistons win that series, much like the Knicks series, which both of those series are 1-1, Knicks, Hawks, Orlando, and Detroit. I think both the Pistons and the Knicks wind up winning those series.
Yeah, the Magic came crashing back down to earth in this game, it feels like. It is the Magic. But, you know, what are you going to do, right? This is what the NBA first round of the playoffs is all about, Jason Page. It's about good teams getting tripped up by injuries and things that shouldn't be happening if we want the best basketball in the second and third rounds.
What I am most interested to see is what happens when we get to game 3 in Houston. What Rockets team shows up for that game? That's That's the one that I want to see. Because Houston's back is against the wall now. They've dropped the first 2. You had Durant with 9 turnovers. He had almost as many turnovers as he had shot attempts in that game. You know, as much as we talk about James Harden, and for rightful reasons, and what he hasn't done in the postseason and all this, you know, Durant gets a pass. You know, he got his 1 title, or he got his 2 titles. He's got his titles from Golden State. And after that, and before that, it ain't a lot of good for Kevin Durant. And, you know, sort of the late stages of his career here, you know, a different sort of story is being written about him. I know, we only have 15 seconds.
Don't hold effective ring chasing against the guy.
It was effective ring chasing. It's a fair point. We're coming back. Odds and ends around the corner. One streak ends, another continues in baseball. That's next. All right, just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Thursday. Couple of reminders. Sports Wrap with Jason Page, the podcast, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Monday through Friday, TV version of the show, available in its audio form. All your favorite podcasting platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this show. Crystal clear audio, usually. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel is the place to find all things Sports Wrap with Jason Page. The Monday through Friday TV version of the show, 45 minutes commercial-free, waiting there for you early each afternoon. Make sure to go and check that out. Sports Wrap Shorts, our companion podcasts, all of that good stuff, bonus content, you name it, it is all there. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Sports Wrap Shorts also there. Sports Wrap Shorts, 1 to 3 minute long videos, top stories in sports. We got them covered there. Breaking news and more, all on the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Subscribe today. Special programming note, we will be off next week. I will be on a cruise. Do not feel sorry for me. It's going to be fun. We'll be on my way to Mexico, going to PV, going to Puerto Vallarta for the first time. Looking forward to that. So next week we will have special programming lined up. Whole bunch of list shows for you, because everybody loves a list show during the NBA and NHL playoffs. Who takes a vacation during the NBA and NHL playoffs? This guy, because I have to get one at some point, and it's the only one I get to take all year long. Unless we go to Japan, which is a possibility, by the way. We may go to Japan during football season. I know. What are we going to do? I have no idea. There's that as well. So anyway, with all that out of the way, now that you know my vacation plans for the rest of the year, without any further delay on this Thursday edition of the show, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell. There it is on your screen. Every single broadcast partner for the WNBA in the 2026-2027 season, and boy, there are a lot of them. Between ESPN, NBC Universal, you'll see games on USA, Peacock, NBC, Prime Video. Ion is carrying the most games this season, interestingly enough, with 50-plus games on Ion. CBS and Paramount have their share. NBA TV has some. And if you love Caitlin Clark, just search around. You'll find her somewhere this year on the WNBA calendar, Sam Yarnell, because every single Indiana Fever game will be carried by one of the WNBA's national broadcast partners. Oh, they're just doing everything they can to make her the most popular gal around the league, huh?
Yeah, wow. This is crazy.
Every single game.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
Yeah. Imagine that.
Good for women's basketball. Good for women's basketball.
Good for Caitlin
it's
Clark.
It's great that we're going to do all this and that they're announcing all this now, Jason, because quite frankly, I don't think any of us were ready for the WNBA season to start.
It's going to be interesting. A lot of games this year. And not for nothing, good for Caitlin Clark. Bad for Caitlin Clark if that Fever team isn't good, or if she misses, half the season again with injuries. Supposedly they're going to tweak the workload to make it a little different. But
that's so true.
The good and bad of it is she's going to be on TV all the time this year. She better be playing. That's the one thing I want to definitely put out there. Baseball, the Mets finally snapped the skid, Sam Yarnell. The Mets get a win. 3-2 the final. They beat the Twins yesterday, and then they lose Francisco Lindor to an injury. It is the most Mets story imaginable. The Mets finally snapped the 12-game losing streak, and lose Francisco Lindor in the process.
What? This is news you're breaking to me. I did not see that they lost Francisco Lindor in the process. I did. That's so funny.
Yep.
That is so Mets. Oh my gosh. Raw reaction. That is so Mets.
It is.
They won this game by the skin on their teeth. The Twins had the
calf
tying
injury,
run on
by
base.
the way. Calf injury for Lindor.
Calf injury.
Yeah.
What was I saying? Oh, the Mets won this game by the skin on their teeth. The Twins had the tying run on base. It actually may have been in scoring position with 2 outs in the 9th. This Mets team is horrible. Even with Soto back, they are just so bad. They are going nowhere this year, just like the Phillies.
A lot of season left though for the Mets. That's the thing, and with wild card spots and everything, there's a lot of season left.
No team's ever suffered a 12-game losing streak and made the playoffs.
But we're also living in a time where there's a lot of opportunities to make it into the playoffs. First time in his 5 years with the Mets, Lindor, by the way, going to the injured list. The Phillies, well, they've dropped 8 in a row. Look, that's the one saving grace for the Mets is at least the Phillies aren't too far ahead of them. Mets win, Phillies lose again. They've dropped 8 in a row. Rob Thompson's job is supposedly safe, Sam Yarnell.
Yeah, I tried to tell all of you coming into this season that this Phillies team was not going to be good at all, and they are showing it in every single sense of the word, Jason. They got to start selling off pieces, man. Get to the young guys. They got some good young talent in that organization.
By the way, Murakami, the slugger for the White Sox, he's got 10 home runs. Hope you put in your Rookie of the Year bets on him before the... Oh, look at Sam. He's all excited.
5 straight days with a homer.
Yeah.
5 days in a row
with
a homer. Hope you put in your AL Rookie of the Year tickets when you watched our preseason baseball spectacular. And I told you that this kid was going to hit a bazillion nukes. My friend who's a White Sox fan is going to name his first son Munetaka.
Oh, Lord. We got to go. We're out of time. Thanks to Dennis Bernstein. Thanks to you, Sam. We'll see you back here next week. I'm Jason Page. That's Sports Wrap. We'll see you tomorrow as well. Bye-bye. Hi there. I'm Jason Page. You like what you're watching? Subscribe. We've got Sports Wrap shorts on this channel. We've got the show. We've got clips from the show. What else do you have to do? You probably follow a lot of other things that aren't half as exciting. They're not half as exciting as this show is. So what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button, follow the channel, watch the content. Bye.